up everyone! So the Cannes Film Festival is just a few weeks away and they've just added a bunch of new films to the lineup, so I thought now's a good time to do a video on the films that I'm excited to see in Cannes, the ones that I'll be watching. Given that this is 2025, I thought here's 25 films that I'm excited to watch at this year's Cannes Film Festival. I typically average about 20 films when I'm at the Cannes Film Festival, which I know doesn't sound like a lot. I know some people that manage to watch like 50 films while they're there over the 10 to 11 days at Cannes. I'm like, good for you. 20 is more than enough for me. At that point, I'm knackered and I'm ready to go home. But yeah, I thought we'll try to do 25 this year. With this video, the 25 films I've selected, they aren't in any particular order, like from most excited to least excited or anything like that. I've been through the festival program, I've gone through all the different branches of all the different films they're playing, looked at the synopsis, and just picked the 25 ones that seemed the most interesting or have talent attached to them, which I'm quite excited about, or they're made by a filmmaker who I really admire, or maybe the synopsis just, caught my attention. It sounded interesting. So yeah, these are just 25 films that I'm personally excited for. If there's any other films in the festival program that you're excited for, which I don't mention, yeah, let me know in the comment section down below. If you think it's me worth checking out, I will try and add it into my schedule. Yeah, always love hearing your guys' input as well. So yeah, get involved in that comment section down below. Obviously, I will be covering the festival here on the channel and also for a few other websites. So if you want to stay up to date with all my reviews, do click that little subscribe button. And if you want to stay up to date with all my reactions to all the films I've seen at the festivals, be sure to follow me on the socials. That's where you get the first initial scoop before I do my reviews. All right then, so let's start off with the films that are playing in competition at Cannes. This year we have 21 films playing in competition for the Palme d'Or, and I will strive to watch as many of those as humanly possible. The ones which create the most buzz at the festival, or the ones which I believe might be contenders for award season, are usually the ones that I prioritize for reviews. So yeah, there's a few in here which I do have my eye on, which I think could be potential award season contenders, but there's always a few surprises which aren't really on your radar before you go to Cannes. But like I said before, I typically gravitate towards the films which are made by filmmakers who I like or appreciate the work of, or perhaps there's some talent in the cast or the crew, which I'm quite fond of and want to see what they're doing in this film. Let's start with one of the big ones in the lineup, which is Wes Anderson's The Phoenician Scheme. The plot synopsis for this film on IMDb reads, "The story of a family and a family business." That's it. But do we need any more than that to get bums and seats for a Wes Anderson film? But admittedly, some of you might be shocked to learn that I personally aren't the biggest Wes Anderson fan. Yeah, I know it's like a sin to say that as a movie lover. I don't know what it is. I know a lot of people are crazy for Wes Anderson's work. I'm not one of them. I will say I did like his Oscar-winning short film, The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, but his most recent features before that, like The French Dispatch and what was the other one? Asteroid City, I didn't care for all that much. I thought they were well made, but I just found myself like completely detached watching them. But is that going to stop me from watching a new Wes Anderson film at Cannes? No way. Just from looking at the trailer of this film, there's a good chance that this will probably be more of the same, Wes doing Wes. But who knows, I could be delighted by The Phoenician Scheme. This film is sure to be one of the most star-studded red carpets of the entire festival because the cast is absolutely stacked. I don't know how many of them are actually going to go be there in Cannes, but the cast includes Benicio del Toro, Mia Threepleton, Riz Ahmed, Scarlett Johansson, Tom Hanks, Rupert Friend, Benedict Cumberbatch, Richard Ayoade, Bryan Cranston, Jeffrey Wright, and Michael Cera. But yeah, with that cast, I will be seated and cautiously optimistic. And whether it's good or bad, I will do a review on it because it is a Wes Anderson film. Next up in competition, we have Ari Aster's Eddington. This marks the first time that Ari Aster has ever been in competition at Cannes, ever. His new A24 film is a dark satirical comedy / western set during the COVID pandemic. As far as plot goes, a standoff between a small-town sheriff and a mayor sparks a powder keg as neighbor is pitted against neighbor in Eddington, New Mexico. This is another star-spangled lineup because we've got Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal, Emma Stone, Luke Grimes, Austin Butler, and Michael Ward. Eddington is definitely in my top 5 most anticipated films to watch at Cannes this year. I'm a big fan of Ari Aster. He hasn't disappointed me yet. And yes, that includes Beau is Afraid. I don't hate it. I'm someone who quite admires it. Next up, we have the latest film from Julia Ducournau called Alpha, which is apparently her most personal film to date. As most of you are probably already aware, Julia Ducournau's previous film, Titan, won the Palme d'Or in 2021, and that was some bold, audacious filmmaking. And her new film, Alpha, looks to be just as provocative as her last film. It's set in the late 1980s and revolves around a teenage girl who is rejected by her classmates because of a rumor that she has contracted a disease, and given that this is the 80s, most likely it's about AIDS. If it's anything like Titan or her other film, Raw, then it's sure to push some buttons and start a conversation. So yeah, this is another one that I have a lot of anticipation for. The film stars Emma Mackey and Tahar Rahim. It's also being distributed by Neon, who are on a 5-year film hot streak at Cannes. For those of you that might not be aware, Neon has distributed the last 5 Palme d'Or winning films that have come out of Cannes, and I've done a ranking video of those 5 last Palme d'Or winning films on my channel. I'll put a link up here if you want to check that out. But could Ducournau go 2 in a row for Palme d'Or wins? Yeah, we'll see. Next up in competition we have The History of Sound, which is directed by Oliver Hermanus. He's the chap who directed the English language remake of Kurosawa's Living film, you know, the one with Bill Nighy. Based on the Pushcart Prize-winning novel by Ben Shatuk, the story is about 2 soldiers during World War II who end up falling in love with each other as they are documenting the lives, voices, and music of their American countrymen. These 2 soldiers are called Lionel, who's played by Paul Mescal, and David, played by Josh O'Connor, okay? So, gay war set drama starring Josh O'Connor and Paul Mescal. Sold. Yeah, and apparently they both sing in this movie as well. So yeah, we get to hear those 2 very handsome men singing in this movie. Yeah, just plug it straight into my eyeballs. I can't wait to watch this movie. Next up, we have the new film from Richard Linklater called New Wave, which is a film about the making of Jean-Luc Godard's film Breathless. So it's an origin story of sorts of the French New Wave movement. I've not seen the film Breathless, but that's some homework before I go to Cannes this year, but I love Linklater, so I'm excited to watch this one. A late addition to the competition lineup is Lynn Ramsey's Die My Love, which stars Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson. It tells the story of a woman in rural France who is battling her demons and feeling more and more trapped by marriage and motherhood. It's kind of giving me Mother 2.0 vibes. And given that this is a Lynn Ramsey film who gave us We Need to Talk About Kevin, I'm sure it's not going to be an easy watch. But yeah, that tag team of J-Law and Arpats, I am seated. The film also stars Sissy Spacek, Lakeith Stanfield, and Nick Nolte. So yeah, this is probably in my top 5, I'd say. We've also got Kelly Reichardt's latest film playing in competition called The Mastermind, which is about a man plotting an audacious art heist amid the social and political turmoil of turn-of-the-70s America. The cast includes Josh O'Connor, John Magaro, and Alana Haim. The reason I'm drawn to this title is that I do love a good heist film, and what's really tickled my curiosity is that it's Kelly Reichardt doing a heist movie, and I'm interested to see how her sensibilities will apply to, you know, a fun type of art heist type film, but yeah, I'm curious. And the last film in the competition lineup that I'm personally very excited to watch is the latest film from Joachim Trier called Sentimental Value, and he's re-teamed up with his leading lady from The Worst Person in the World, Renate Reinsve, for this feature. Her absent father, who's played by Stellan Skarsgård, he's a notable filmmaker. He suddenly comes back into her life and wants to cast her in a new film that he's doing. The film also stars Elle Fanning, Corey Michael Smith, and the screenplay for this film has been co-wrote by Trier and his screenwriting partner Eskil Vogt. They wrote the screenplay for The Worst Person in the World. Love that tag team again, getting back together again. And yeah, apparently the film explores family, loss, memories, and the reconciling power of art. It's also being distributed by Nihon in North America and Mubi in other regions, so yeah, is this another potential candidate for the Palme d'Or this year? I certainly hope so. So yeah, they're all the films that are playing in competition that I'm really excited for. If there's any others that you're excited for in the competition lineup, do let me know in the comment section below. Alright, so moving on to the next section, which is Uncertain Regard, and there's a few titles which caught my eye, mostly from notable actors turned directors. The first of which is the feature debut of British actor Harris Dickinson. His new film is called Urchin, and that's playing in Uncertain Regard. The film is about a homeless chap called Michael who's living in London and is caught in a cycle of self-destruction and him trying to turn his life around. I don't know too much about this film, but Harris Dickinson has described the film being about mental health and the individuals in society who fall between the cracks, which sounds a bit Ken Loach-esque to me, but I'm excited to see if Dickinson has got directorial chops. Secondly, we've got Scarlett Johansson with her directorial feature debut called Eleanor the Great. The film is written by Tori Kamen, Scarlett Johansson has directed it, which tells the story of a 90-year-old woman called Eleanor, who's played by June Squibb, who after the death of her best friend moves to New York City and befriends a 19-year-old college student played by Erin Kellyman. What I get from that premise is that this sounds like it's going to be a much-needed dose of levity in the festival lineup. It should be a fairly fun watch. At least I hope so, because you really do need some palate cleanser films in the lineup, because you do watch a lot of stuffy art house films that can. But yeah, we'll let you guys know if Eleanor the Great is in fact great. And thirdly, in our series of actor-turned-directors, we've got the recently added film from Kristen Stewart called The Chronology of Water. This is an adaptation of Lydia Yuknovich's memoir. It follows Lydia, who grows up in an environment ravaged by violence and alcohol, but when she escapes her upbringing and goes to university, she finds refuge in literature. The film explores themes of sexuality, the female body, and the emotional experience of youth. And then there's my most anticipated film in the Uncertain Regard section, which is Pillion, which is the feature debut of Harry Lighton. This film wasn't even on my radar until a few weeks ago when they announced the lineup for Cannes, but yeah, it's a British film, it's also a gay film, so I'm like, okay, let's hear about it, but this is apparently an adaptation of the novel called Box Hill by Adam Mars Jones, and Harry Melling plays this dweeby wallflower called Colin. He's directionless in life. That is until he meets the enigmatic, impossibly handsome biker Ray, who's played by Alexander Skarsgård, who ends up taking him on as his sub. Yeah, this film is about a dom-sub relationship. And I know a couple of people who have worked on this film, and they have told me some of the stuff that goes down in this movie is absolutely wild. But yeah, this film had me at kinky queer romance. It's definitely one of my most anticipated films in the lineup. I'd put it in my top 5, yeah. Alright, so next up we have the films that are playing out of competition at Cannes. Starting off with Spike Lee's Highest to Lowest, which is an English language reinterpretation of Kurosawa's 1963 Japanese film High and Low. The film stars Denzel Washington, Jeffrey Wright, Ice Spice, and A$AP Rocky. There's this teeny tiny low budget independent film from Christopher McQuarrie called Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Yes! Now, of course, I'm very excited for the new Mission Impossible movie. This is, of course, taking the slot of the one big blockbuster franchise movie that you usually get at Cannes, like Indiana Jones or Mad Max Fury Road or Furiosa last year. And yeah, this could be Tom Cruise's final outing as Ethan Hunt, given that title says The Final Reckoning, but yeah, I'm very excited to watch that one. Should be good fun. We also have a film called A Private Life by Rebecca Slotowski. Sorry if I mispronounced that. And this features Jodie Foster in an all French-speaking role as a renowned psychiatrist who investigates the death of a patient who she believes has been murdered. For me, I'm just very curious to see how Jodie Foster does in a French-speaking role, and I'll be excited to see what all the French people at Cannes have to say about her accent and all that. Hopefully she pulls it off. All right, so next up in the program we have the Midnight section, and there's only really one film that I'm really curious to see from this group, and that is the new film from Ethan Coen called Honey Don't, which is a dark comedy and is apparently the second film in his and Trisha Cook's B-movie lesbian trilogy. The film follows a lesbian private detective played by Margaret Qualley who investigates a church and its charismatic leader who's played by Chris Evans. The film also stars Aubrey Plaza, Charlie Day, Billy Eichner, Talia Ryder, and Kristen Connolly. Usually the films in the Midnight section are a bit more fun, a bit more wacky, so hopefully this is a bit of a palate cleanser movie. In the Cannes premiere section, I'm excited to check out Koji Fukada's Love on Trial, which is a film which explores the harsh realities of fame. Apparently it's centered around a J-pop idol called May, who is forced to fight for her freedom after she violates a clause in her contract which says she's not allowed to fall in love with anybody. It sounds like it's a satire, and I like Fukada's work, so yeah, I'm keen to watch that one. We also got a new film from Sebastian Lelio called The Wave, not to be confused with Linklater's New Wave. It's about a Chilean student who gets involved in a feminist movement at university, who suddenly finds herself becoming a central figure in the movement. There's no one in the cast that I know, but I'll be showing up for this one because I do like Sebastian Lelio's work. And we've also got Michelangelo Covino's Splitsville, which is a comedy about a woman called Ashley, played by Hitman's Adria Arjona, who asks for a divorce from her husband Carrie. They get some advice from their friends and they say, why don't you try an open marriage? And apparently they do, and chaos ensues once Carrie steps over the line, which can't be reversed. So it sounds like good fun. In the director's fortnight, we have Dangerous Animals by Sean Byrne, and starring Jai Courtney as what looks to be like a psychopathic killer who lures women onto his boat and kills them by dropping them into shark-infested waters. It sounds like trash, this film, but I don't know, it hooked me, and I love a good shark movie, and who knows, maybe Jai Courtney can prove me wrong. He's always been one of those actors that I've not been crazy about, but maybe he's really good here. We'll find out. There's a few other films in Director's Fortnight which I'm curious to check out. One of them is Peak Everything, which stars Closet Monster star Connor Jessup, and 3 other films in the Director's Fortnight which I don't know too much about, but sounded interesting from the brief synopsis on the email that I got, were Enzo, Kokuo, and Sorry Baby. You had me at Cute Adorable Cat Poster, so yeah, I'll be checking those out. And for the 25th film that I'm curious to check out is a film from the Acid section, which is a queer film from a chap called Lucio Casto, and it's called Drunken Noodles. And this is about a young art student who flat sits for someone in New York City, does an internship at a gallery, and one of the exhibitions is done by an artist who he's had an encounter with in his past. And yeah, it just sounded interesting. Queer art, romance, yeah. that sounds like my cup of tea. For those of you that were keeping score, those were 25 films from the 2025 Cannes Film Festival that I am excited to check out. Remember, these picks are solely based off the filmmakers that made the films, the talent that's attached to them, and like my knee-jerk reaction to the synopsis that were online. Usually what happens at Cannes is films that aren't even on my radar, that have no talent or filmmakers attached to them that I don't have any pre-existing knowledge of, end up becoming like the buzziest titles of the festival, and I end up watching them and falling in love with them. So yeah, there's probably going to be a few films that I haven't mentioned in this video, which end up being some of my favorites of the festival. So yeah, stand by for those. And yeah, if you think there's any other films in the Cannes Film Festival lineup that I should be seeking out, pop them in the comment section down below. If I've got time, I will check them out. And remember, if you want those early reviews fresh out of Cannes, as well as my early predictions as to which films I think might be, are players in award season 2026, be sure to click that subscribe button, and remember to follow us on all the socials for all my reactions for the films out of Cannes. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. For more things related to movies, TV, the Oscars, and popcorn culture, I'm Luke Kearfield. I'll see you next time.